Most adults don't realize that the way they handle relationships, conflict, and even their own emotions was shaped long before they had any say in it. And a lot of those patterns trace back to growing up in a dysfunctional family. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Growing up in a dysfunctional family doesn't just affect your childhood, it shapes how we experience ourselves and relationships long into adulthood. When we talk about family dysfunction, people often think of extreme situations like physical abuse, a parent with an addiction, and constant chaos. And those situations absolutely fit the scenario. But dysfunction can also be much more subtle. It can look like emotions not being talked about, conflict that's avoided or explosive, roles being rigid, and children feeling responsible for their parents' feelings. Any of these environments require kids to constantly adapt. They're learning what gets me connection, what gets me in trouble, and what do I have to do to feel safe. And those adaptations are actually very intelligent. They help the child survive emotionally in that environment. For example, a child growing up in a home where emotions feel overwhelming or unpredictable may learn, I need to stay quiet. I need to not make things worse. Or I need to take care of other people. That child may become very attuned to others. They might be very responsible and very aware. But often they will also lose connection with their own needs or their own feelings. Or I'll see the opposite. A child growing up in a home where their needs are ignored may learn, I have to push harder to be seen. I need to get louder, or I have to demand attention. Both of those patterns make sense in childhood, but they don't always translate well into adult relationships. The issue isn't that something is wrong with you. The issue is that many of the patterns you developed made sense in the context you grew up in. They were adaptive. But what helps us survive childhood doesn't always help us thrive in adulthood. In fact, those same patterns can start to create problems later on. People pleasing can lead to resentment. Avoiding conflict can lead to disconnection. Overfunctioning can lead to burnout. And shutting down can lead to loneliness. Often people don't realize I'm still living out something that I learned a long time ago. If you're beginning to see some of these patterns in yourself, one of the most helpful questions you can ask is, where did I learn this? Or where did this start? Not in a blaming way, but in a curious way. Because when you understand where a pattern comes from, you can start to decide whether it still serves you. You can begin to ask, is this how I want to keep showing up in my life? Or is there something new I want to learn? Healing often starts with awareness, with recognizing that made sense back then, but it may not be what I need now. If you're interested in more conversations about relationships, emotional health, and healing, you can subscribe to this channel. I talk a lot about the patterns we develop, where they come from, and how we begin to change them.